Alrighty, so the Rapier, it was looking grim at first, but it is definitely feeling the strongest that it has felt in the game by far. Honestly, everything is. This patch is just absolutely wild with how much more damage we got, artifact weapons, perks, breakpoints, and the attributes. This patch is feeling pretty wild, but it's honestly fun because it doesn't really feel like any one particular weapon is underperforming. It pretty much feels like everything is doing damage for the most part, which is pretty good. We didn't really get to test with our live characters and optimized perks, obviously. So there's definitely some things to be seen on live. But yeah, in terms of the overall changes, most of it I am really happy about. So everything buildcraft wise is really mainly what I am most excited about because I've been really asking for that for a really long time in this game. And while we don't have as much buildcraft as I think we really should have in this game, we definitely got a lot more than we had previously. So I'll take it. Um, and yeah, the attributes. There's actually quite a few changes. I'm not gonna go over every single thing because there are a bunch of videos that have already done that already. So if you wanna, know what has changed in the patch, there are definitely gonna be some better videos to go over all of that. But in terms of my builds that I usually play, the higher beta rapier builds, as you can see by the stats, we have finally merged into the int rapier. Gone are the days of split statting, at least for rapier. I guess you could technically call this split statting, but I consider this a int rapier at this point, and it's been something that I know a lot of people have asked me about for pretty much since the start of the game. But I just felt like it never had enough damage on the rapier until now. On live, you're currently only able to get to hit 300 int on live. You are only able to get 50 dex, and then you can have 150 con. You can drop some con, but we'll kind of get into that later. Why I really like having 150 con, but in terms of the weapons themselves and the build and why I feel so much stronger, it is really and truly the fact that we can fully go into int rapier and still retain our damage on the rapier itself. So literally for the entire game, we've been running with a 200 intelligence damage fire staff, and as you're gonna see in some of these clips coming up, the weapon is just absolutely pumping now. So that combined with the fact that we still have a little bit more rapier damage is actually really enjoyable for the build. On top of that, we got all of the new breakpoints in our attributes. So as far as intelligence is concerned, we've got we lost the 5% damage to random crits, but we got 5% back through damage over time. So essentially, this is going to be 10% that we still had from last patch. The light and heavy elementals, the elemental damage is going to retain the same. The mana on critical hit. So this is actually one of the interesting changes that I actually like. Mana was pretty much non-existent in the game. If you were using an intelligence weapon, you were probably using, or you had points into intelligence, or you weren't using the weapon as your main weapon, so you didn't really care about mana. So the fact that you actually have to think about your mana and try to have some form of sustain towards that in some way, I actually like, because like I said, with roll dodging pretty much being, or dodging being in everybody's regular gameplay, you pretty much never had to worry about your mana. So this is actually a pretty interesting change, but damage over time is still there. The damage to targets below 50 health, I believe this was above 50 previously, but we also get this now to help finish off targets, which is nice. But the really big one is going to be this ability damage here. So not only are we switching from a 200 int fire staff to a 350 int fire staff, but we also got 15% ability damage on that. We are running rune glass gems again. We also have the new perk Fire Harnessing, which I wasn't able to get on the PTR, but we can literally get 20% extra fire damage just to our gear alone. We get the 15% from the attributes, or from the intelligence, and then this 50% is going to help out our rapier damage a little bit as well. Not on the evade, obviously, but on the tondos, the flourish and finish, the flesh, it is going to add a little bit of extra damage to that as well. And then as far as Dex is concerned, the reason why we're able to run an int Rapier now and not feel like we're losing anything is because we already lost that dodge roll passive last patch, right? So I really feel like Rapier is going to shift into one of two builds. It's either going to go full Dex with a little bit of int to top it off, or full int with a little bit of Dex. But split standing is just not optimal anymore, which isn't a bad thing. But one of the crazy things that I don't understand why they added is the 15% duration to damage over time. So this is already here, right? We already had the 30%, and then they added another 15% on top of the fact that the artifact rapier is now in the game. So bleed builds are going to be just absolutely ridiculous now. Absolutely ridiculous. I think I heard reports of like 15k finishes on people, which is just nutty. But yeah, the int rapier setup is a thing now. The weapons themselves haven't really gotten too many changes. Ice Gauntlet is actually something that I'm pretty interested in running a int version for as well, because of that Ice Gauntlet, or sorry, the Ice Spike change. I'm pretty excited to see what kind of damage we'll be able to get out with Ice Spike on an int setup. But even with a Dex setup, the crit chance while empowered, which will always be empowered on the Rapier, and really this passive here, this is really the main reason why I still want to run a Dex focus, or at least have a Dex version of my Rapier Ice Gauntlet build, because the fact that we get 2 more cleanses is just wild. So we already have the potential cleanse from our earring by drinking a regeneration potion. We get the cleanse from our entomb, but there's also a new perk that I don't have right now, but there is a perk where on heart rune use, you also cleanse all your debuffs. So the Ice Gauntlet build is going to be probably one of the tankiest light armor melee builds in the game after this patch. And I'm really excited to see what it's going to feel like to run with that many cleanses, because we really didn't have access to that many at all before. But yeah, build wise I didn't, or like weapon tree wise I didn't really change anything for the builds. And like I said, I didn't really get to test out all of my setups because of the fact that it's PTR and we get like random items out of the box. But we're going to take a look at some of the footage that I got in some of the matches, because, yeah, this thing is pumping now. So the reason why I didn't show my gear is because it literally was not worth showing. I think I had maybe an omnidirectional perk or omnidirectional evade piece on my legs. I had a piece for fireball, but other than that, I was pretty much just running the artifact chest piece and a couple of refreshing pieces, because I spent most of my time on the PTR actually checking out all the other things in the update, so the mount and taking in the new zone. But in talking about refreshing, that is one of the reasons why this build or playstyle has gotten so much stronger this patch. Not only is our fire staff, or the whole entire other half of our build, now doing reasonable damage, or the same amount of damage that everybody else is doing, but it's also this artifact chest piece. So previously you would have to have invested 8 pieces of refreshing and have your rapier have refreshing move on it to hit that 2-hit evade cap. But now with this chest piece, you can literally have the chest piece and I believe 4 other pieces, which is pretty much just all your other gear slots. And what that means is not only does it open up more perks overall, but it means we can now run whatever rapier we want and then still hit that 2-hit evade. So that is probably the biggest buff, I think, for this build overall. and I'm gonna be probably running that on all of my Rapier setups for sure. But jumping into this PvP commentary here, you can kind of already see how much damage our Fire Staff is doing. You're gonna see that I kind of get jumped on here by a Greatsword Hatchet user, and normally in these situations, I literally playstyle wise I'm doing the same thing. We evade and kind of use our Fire Staff to buy ourselves distance and pressure, and you can see just how much more damage we are doing with the Fire Staff. Just a heavy attack into a fireball into an incinerate, and we almost straight up killed that person. And on live, it's nowhere near close to that damage. We have to put so much more work in with the Rapier to finish out those kinds of kills. So that's one of the really big things about the build that I have been excited about for this upcoming patch. But we do still get jumped on by a couple of the players that have respawned here, and that is one of the things about this patch, because everybody does so much damage now, and we have one less dodge, which we had from last patch, but it's really the damage that you have to kite a lot more, play your stamina a lot better, etc. But you see we kind of get backed up into the tree there. I throw down the Incinerate into the Grasping Vines, and we do almost get the Great Axe user down, but he does have the constant heals coming in from the Lifestaff Flail user. So even there, I kind of surprised myself. I think both myself and both of the opponents I'm fighting here were both like, oh, hold on. This guy's actually kind of pumping right now. And I am literally realizing in this fight just actually how crazy this build is now. And you can see he literally has to retreat back to the healer and full reset on his health just because of how much consistent pressure we're able to put out. But we go ahead and use that distance from our light armor roll and the Incinerate to try and see if we can set up a combo again on that Great Axe user, but he's playing super aggressive, being that he has a pocket healer with him. So we're just going to try and do our best and play to the advantages of our build and try to kite, but we again land a beautiful Incinerate into the Grasping Vines, and this time we are able to find the finish on that Great Axe user and align our burst a lot better. Almost actually take out the Flail user as well. I'm pretty low, but you can see with the health buff, we are sitting at 6,000 health still, so I'm pretty comfortable to just kind of fly at this Flail user that we're in a one-on-one now. And you can see just how hard it is for me to get him down. One of the things about Flail is it has a ton of weakens. So as you're going to see by my debuff bar there, multiple times it'll end up stacking up to like 4 stacks of weaken. So that's one of the reasons why it is, on top of the fact that there's a bunch of heals, why it is hard to take down healers now. This is going to be probably one of the more annoying parts of this patch. But being that we have enough damage, you can see that we can find opportunities to find bursts and actually take people out. But we are still onto this Flail user. He is trying to put in damage back in onto us, but we are just putting out so much pressure that anytime he switches onto the offensive, he pretty much has to instantly switch back because he puts himself within death range for us to finish off the kill. And I'm trying to see what I can do. I'm just pumping in the evades and the light attacks here, trying to put in that damage, but you can see just those weakness stacks stacking up on me. And even it goes up to 5 there at that point. So the weakness plus the armor mitigation plus the heals is definitely going to make healers a lot more annoying to fight against this patch for sure. But I'm not giving up on this fight. It's pretty much having to use everything just to stay alive and keep me low in this fight here. And I'm pretty much just periodically chugging potions here and there, but trying to keep my aggression up on this Flail user here. And while he is going on aggressive, I'm starting to learn the patterns of the Flail a little bit better, and we're dodging them better as this fight goes on. And we find a beautiful opportunity there. I do miss the Grasping Vines, but even though we do, we find the opportunity as he stabbed himself out and find a beautiful disengage into a little 2v1 there. And to put it into perspective, here's a couple of clips of people that I ran into that were probably not running at minimum 150 con. And that's kind of going back to the con point that I was going to talk about earlier, which is I feel like light armor, which is honestly pretty much dead at this point. But if you are going to be running a light armor setup that is not full ranged, I feel the only way you can really do that nowadays is minimum 150 con. And then even the range setups that tend to like to run lower con or even those 5 con builds, this is kind of what it looks like when you catch those kinds of builds. So yeah, the patch is definitely in a or the meta rather is in a pretty interesting place. We're definitely in that power creep phase where we're just reaching new limits of how much damage is in the game. So I think all around there's definitely going to have to be some adjustments that are made for sure. But the thing that I'm actually pretty excited about is to test all of the Rapier setups because like I mentioned, I didn't get the chance to really do that on this PTR just because of the length of it and what I was kind of spending my time doing. There's also a couple of weird bugs that I literally was not sure what was causing it. You're going to see a couple of times in this fight here that I'm going to be getting healed from seemingly nothing. I was really trying to figure out what exactly was healing me. It could be the passive from my heart rune maybe bugging out, giving me way more lifesteal than it should, but I don't really feel like it is that. You can see I use a regen potion there and I get just a chunk heal from something. And I just stopped there to try to figure out exactly what it is. And you're going to see it again come up here during this fight that I do end up getting like another big chunk of a heal. It wasn't happening super often and it happened right there again. Didn't really see any heals around me or anything that I could see. So there was a couple of really weird things going on in the PTR for sure. And the only thing that really worries me is the fact that they literally have a week to try to iron out a lot of these things. So there's definitely probably going to be a rocky launch to the expansion. But that being said, overall, I am pretty happy about a lot of the changes coming into the game. And it honestly genuinely has me just excited to play the game again because it honestly was getting, I don't want to say stale, but it's a little bit boring because of the lack of changes and lack of kind of content overall. The content side of things is still something we're kind of lacking on in PvP, but we are slowly getting there, and I am getting a pretty good feeling about this game overall. That is if they can get a hold of the performance, which is something that I will be kind of diving into in another video. But yeah, if you have any questions at all, please let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you all so much for watching, and have an amazing day.